What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here today with another review for Power Book 2 Ghost, Season 3, Episode 3. The episode is titled Human Capital, you guys. So, before we go ahead and jump into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and aren't subscribed yet, then do me a solid favor. Stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and sharing the video. And with that out the way, without further ado, you guys, let's discuss Power Book 2 Ghost, shall we? So this episode, we open up, so we see Braden, we see Tariq. So they are at a suit shop, right? So they're getting fitted for some suits. Now, we don't necessarily know why they're getting fitted for suits, but they're getting fitted for suits. And they have Davis with them, right? So, Tariq is like, well, they're talking about watches at one point, right? So Tariq asks Davis, does he know somebody about, they can help with them with a watch? He said yes, right? And Davis is like, you can change your suit and everything. You can change the way you dress, but these people, they had their eye on you. They still got their eyes on you, right? So we see Effie. We see her as she's going to the different schools and she's moving the product, right? So then there's this young lady that comes out to Effie and she was like, so have you, remember last week's episode we saw Effie and it looked like Effie was going to try to start back up course correct, right? So the girl asked her, so have you done anything at Stansfield? And she was like, no, she's like, is this because of Tariq? It should be, because she would be going behind his back. So then we see Lorenzo. So remember, last week's episode, Kane got Lorenzo to do what he wanted him to do because Kane knows that Lorenzo is the one that took Zeke out, right? So we see Lorenzo as he's trying to make a drop, right? And then these dudes just pop, just knocked his ass out. I was like, oh, this is something that Kane set up, isn't it? Then we see Drew. Drew is trying to get over Loverboy by just hooking up with anybody that he just sees, right? He's having sex with just random niggas that he's meeting on Grindr, right? So then we see everybody as they got a 911 text to meet at the warehouse, right? So it is Noma's guy, Obi, and he's basically looking at them like, so all this weight from last week is still sitting here. Like, what the fuck is going on here, right? So Tariq tells him, by the time you come here next week, all of that shit right there, that shit's gonna be long gone, right? And he says, we have a plan to expand. So Obi basically gave them an incentive, right? He slapped down a picture of Diana. He slapped down a picture of Braden's mama and daddy, and then he slapped down a picture of Big Mama, right? So he says, so if all this shit ain't gone, first is gonna be Diana. Then the next time, it's gonna be Mama and Daddy. Then after that, because we respect our elders, Big Mama is gonna be the last one to go. And little Orphan Annie, you ain't free and clear this either. You ain't off the hook. I was like, damn, not little Orphan Annie. But they got to figure the shit out, right? So let's pause here and we're gonna move forward, you guys. So the next scenes we're gonna talk about is gonna involve Jenny, Kevin, Blanca, and Davis, right? So we see Jenny, we see Kevin, and we see Blanca and Rodriguez. So Blanca tells Jenny that, the DEA has a short leash on them, right? Kevin says that the PD is not giving him access to Ramirez's phone, so he can't find anything, right? But he's still going after Monet Tejada because he still believes that Monet unlived Carrie, right? Honestly, I don't think he's wrong in that situation. I don't believe he's wrong that Monet unlived Carrie, right? I think for me, the thing that I keep coming back to is how. Because even Blanca said, but it was ruled on suicide. It definitely was, right? But how did Monet make that look? Because honestly, let's just keep it a buck with each other, right? We know Monet did that shit. We know that Monet 100% did it. I think the thing is, how did Monet do it, right? Now, Kevin did bring up something later in the episode, and I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna bring it back, right? So they're trying to basically link all the murders together, right? Kevin keeps trying to bring up Carrie, and that's when Blanca was like, Carrie Milgram's death was ruled on one side, and I was like, girl, this nasally accent, Jesus, I can't stand that bitch. I can't stand that bitch, right? And so Jenny's thing is Jenny and both Blanca are thinking. Well, no, Jenny. This was Blanca. All the murders are connected, so we need to look into Lauren Baldwin and Dante Spears. Now, when she said Lauren Baldwin, Jenny was like, "Hey, bitch! Now, wait. Hey, that one was because her car went into the water. But we don't know that. You're right, you don't know that because Lauren's not dead, right? And we know that, right? Now they want to know where they're getting their drugs from. So we see Davis. So Davis was working and Monet came to the office. She was like, she gave him the file back, right? And she told him the stuff with Zeke, she's good on it, right? And to stop calling her and hanging up the phone. And he was like, that's not me that's calling you and hanging up. She was like, if we gonna do this, you gotta stop lying to me. I was like, Monet, he's not lying to you. His sneaky ass partner, Sax, is the one that called you, right? But she doesn't know that. So then she gives him a new burner phone, right? And he told her when it comes to she talked about Kevin, right? And he told her, do not talk to Kevin, right? Basically, don't even entertain it. But then we later see, Davis and as Monet, they called Kevin down to the office, right? So Kevin, you guys know, like I said, Kevin is like a dog with a bone. He really wants for Monet to say that she is the one that unlived Carrie Milgram. Again, do I believe Monet did that shit? Absolutely. I do believe Monet did it. And he actually made a very good point. But he can't prove it because he said maybe she called down Kane to help her make it look like it was a unliving, right? And I was like, you know what? That does make sense, right? That would make sense how they were able to get her up there. But that would mean that they had to knock the bitch out at some point to do that. But then at the same time, you guys know that Kevin has the traffic light cameras that have Monet, but you don't have anything with Kane on it. So it just begs the question of how did Monet execute that? Like that execution is what I always go back to. Like, how did she execute that shit, right? So he also was talking about, he went to her bar at one point. He went to the wait. We can talk about that a little later. But he was talking about her contractor, and he was talking about everybody that comes to the bar. They basically come up missing, right? Well, actually, let's talk about that. So he did go down to the bar. She was like, what the fuck are you doing here, right? He was like, I'm on duty, so, you look like you could use some patrons, right? He's like, how is Drew? Talking about Drew's arm. I'm like, oh my God. Will somebody just pop, Kevin? Like, I'm really tired. So then she tells him about, she tells him to look into that guap that, killed Zeke. He's like, I didn't know anything about a GTG. And I was like, oh my God, Monet, why would you do that? And then, when Kevin eventually left, Kevin is not going to leave this alone. So Monet basically read him like, you coming after me because you can protect your bitch. I was like, you're right about that, Monet. He is definitely doing this because he could not protect Carrie. And the thing that I want to say about this, you're going so hard for Carrie, but Carrie was a hoe. Like, Carrie was a whole ass hoe that didn't want you. Carrie was fucking Zeke. Like, are we forgetting that? Carrie Milgram was a hoe, a slut. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but that was a cheap ass. That woman was a hoe. So Davis asked, once Kevin left, Davis asked Monet, is there anything that he should be worried about? I think there's a lot you should be worried about. The fact that, and it ain't really dealing with Kevin. It's more so dealing with the rat that is working up under you named Cooper Sax. That is your issue, right? But he tells Monet what he's going to try to do with the NYPD is he's going to try to file a harassment claim to see if that can just get Kevin off for just a little bit, right? So he eventually texts Tariq to come down to the office, right? So when Tariq got to the office, Monet was still there, right? And Davis was like, you're absolutely correct that someone was watching Dante's penthouse, right? But right now, we need you to kind of lay low. So stay away from the Tejadas. Don't go near that penthouse, right? And Tariq was like, cool, we got this, right? So while they're talking, who walks by and sees them? You guessed it, that damn Cooper Saxe. And what does that little sneaky bitch do? He takes his phone and he takes a picture of it. And I'm assuming he's gonna send it to old Jenny. Jesus, like this, it's so interesting when it comes to the power shows. Like, we literally hate damn near all the policemen, right? We hate Blanca, we hate Jenny, we hate Saxe, we hated Angela, we hate old girl over on Power Book 3. What's her name? The one that's friend that be messing with Jukebox. We literally hate the cops on the in the Power universe. But I'm not a big fan of cops in my real regular life. So we see Jenny and Blanca, right? So Jenny and Blanca are just letting Kevin have it, right? Kevin really doesn't give a fuck about what they're talking about. Kevin's only goal is to prove that Monet is the one that unlived Carrie Milgram, right? And he basically told him that fuck y'all in this RICO case, because good luck with it. I was like, well, damn. I mean, I guess he told y'all. So we then see Saxe. So Saxe went to go see Theo, and I was like, I know y'all motherfucking lying. When Theo walked in, I'm like, that is not Theo. That is not Davis's brother. They done recast Theo. They really have. I was like, at one point I was like, nah, this is a plant. But nah, it really was Theo. I was like, y'all really just dropped Redman like that? Like, oh my God, that's some bullshit. So Saxe is questioning Theo about his case, right? I think we all had put it together last season that Theo took a case for Davis. Because Saxe is talking about the fact that the assailant was 6'5" or so, but he's about 5'11", right? So yeah, and then in this scene, Saxe found out that Davis and Theo are brothers, right? So then later in the episode, we see as Davis went into his office, and he was basically checking, Saxe, like, you went to go see Theo. He's like, yeah, your brother. He's like, I was gonna tell you that, and Saxe like, that's bullshit, right? Then Saxe says, and I also know that your brother took a charge for you. But he says that he'll help Davis out. Y'all know I don't trust Saxe as far as I can throw the little slimy bitch, but we'll see what Saxe does. But let's pause here, and we're gonna move forward. All right, you guys, so next up, I think we're gonna go ahead and discuss the Tejada family, right? So remember, I told you guys that when Obi put down the pictures of Diana, Big Mama, and Braden's family, right? He said that Diana was the first one to go, basically. If they don't do what needs to be done, Diana's gonna be the first one to catch a pop right towards the eye or here, right? So Kane decided to go to Stansfield to basically watch Diana, right? So we see Diana and she's with Salim, right? And when her and Salim were walking, and Kane came up and Salim was like, who is this? She's like, this is my brother. And Salim also told Diana that he Googled her father. I was like, ooh, I don't know if that's a good idea, my brother. Ignorance is bliss. But I don't know if it's bliss. I don't know in this particular case, if it is, right? In this particular case, you should have just left well enough alone and never went and did some digging. Because that might be your downfall. I don't think Salim gonna make it out of season 3. I don't think Salim is gonna make it out of season 3. Honestly, when it comes to Salim, I have a little sneaky suspicion that Salim is linked to Noma. I believe that Salim might be linked to Noma. Tell me if you guys believe that in the comment section, but I think Celine might be linked to Noma. I really do. I feel like he's connected to Noma in some kind of way. So Kane tried to get Diana a gun. She's like, I'm not taking that. So then he invited her over to the house for dinner, right? So they're having dinner, right? So Kane is basically going over everything and telling them what's going on, right? And so he says they got to look out for each other. And mind you, it's Kane, it's Lorenzo, it's Diana, and it's Drew, right? There's no Monet there. And it's so interesting. I'm like, Diana and Drew, y'all don't realize Kane is doing all the talking. Poppy over here is quiet as a church mouse. Like, y'all ain't questioning nothing when it come to old Poppy. Poppy is the one who typically runs the organization, runs the family, gives the orders. But Poppy is taking the orders from Kane. And ain't nobody called that shit out. Okay, if y'all say so, right? So Kane tells Diana, if he comes around and whatever he tells her she needs to do, and she was like, who the fuck made you the boss? Poppy, you gonna say something? And he was like, we're gonna go along with what your brother said. I would have been like, wait a minute, say what now? Why? Why are we going along with anything that Kane says? Kane is the reason that a lot of this shit that happens with us happens to us, right? Kane is the catalyst for, actually he really is. Me and my friend were talking about this recently, that everything that pretty much has happened in book 2 is if it's not directly linked to Kane, he had something to do with it, right? That GTG nigga that got taken out at Stansfield, that was Kane. Ramirez, that was Kane. Ramirez is Kane. That GTG nigga was Kane. Who else? All of the GTG is on Kane, and the fuck shit he did. Dante, that is on Kane because Kane wanted to get away from, like, everything links back to Kane, damn near, right? Ramirez, Kane. Jabari, Kane. Like, damn near everything in this show so far, it all traces back to Kane. But we all know Lorenzo can't say shit because Lorenzo got his hands tied, right? So where are we at? So Kane also tells them, so he really wanted to take out the Castillos, and I was like, I don't think that would be smart. Y'all done already took out Uncle Frank. So Drew was like, nah, that's pretty stupid, right? So Drew has an idea that what they could do is take out the Castillos, connect, and once they take out the connect, then they can swoop in and be the savior, and they move the product for them. I was like, as much as Drew, the thing with Drew is very smart, right? But Drew is led by his heart and his emotions. And we see that now that he and Everett have broken up, right? Because this entire episode, his phone kept going off because he was getting notifications from Grindr. And at one particular moment, there was this guy who sent him a picture of him. The guy said, what's up? Then he asked for a face picture, right? Then the guy sent a picture of his back, and he has a tattoo. He has a tattoo right here. It might be an ace. I don't know which ace. I don't know which it is, but it's a card, and I think it's an ace tattooed right there, right? And so I'm like, that's significant. It's gonna come back up later on, and I knew it was gonna come back up later because for them to show us that tattoo, I knew eventually we were gonna see it again, right? So then we see Diana. So Diana was in her room, and she was looking at her paycheck, and her paycheck wasn't shit, right? I was like, girl, what did you expect? You were in college. They probably pay you pennies. But, her roommate, Sister Westcott, she got some cocaine, right? And Diana was like, girl, where did you get that from, right? She said, I thought they said Stansfield was, dry since the shit with Brayden, right? She was like, yeah, T and they told me that, but I didn't buy it. So then we see Diana, right? So she was confronting Effie about all the lies that Effie has told to her, right? Like, girl, you warned me about Tariq, this and this and that. Girl, she was trying to get you out the way. I mean, I know Diana is young, but bitch, she was trying to get your ass out the way. She already thought she got rid of Lauren. So getting rid of Lauren helped her get one step closer to Tariq. And she was like, damn, there's one more obstacle in the way, and that's that little bitch Diana. So let me get her out the way, right? Effie serves her own self, right? So then, she was talking about the weight, and she was like, y'all said, Kane told me that Stansfield was too hot. Well, technically, Stansfield is too hot, right? But Effie has ulterior motives. Like I said, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And then she was basically telling Diana, well, why don't you come and work with us? And Diana was like, girl, I'm not doing it. So we later see the Castillos as they are meeting with the Tejada family, right? So I'm ahead of myself just a little bit, but I'm gonna come back and make it make sense to you guys, right? So the Tejadas were meeting with, remember, I just told you a few minutes ago that they were meeting with the Castillos because they are going to be their connect, because the Russians that are supplying their Russian supplier, he is, deceased, incapacitated, right? He ain't gonna be able to make the calls no more, right? So they show up to the penthouse. Mind you, remember I told you that Drew is getting hit up on Grindr, right? So somebody that he's connecting with, he's getting very close to them, right? And then you see the Castillos, they're on the elevator, and one of them gets off, and Drew was like, you used to be fat. He's like, yeah, I got a trainer. So then he raised his arm, he raised his hand, and you can see the tattoo. I was like, oh, that's gonna be Drew's new fuck buddy. Oh, that's not gonna be good, right? So the Castillos believe that Kane them are the ones who took out this Russian, the Russian connect, right? Because Kane said, we heard that it was a white boy, and they were like, no, the Russians told us it was somebody who was black. And Kane was like, somebody who was black? No. He said, it wasn't me. I was with, Drew. And Drew was like, yeah, he was with me. So then Lorenzo, they said, well, how did y'all hear that there was somebody that was white? And Lorenzo was like, well, I heard it from some stupid kid. So the Castillos decided that, hey, we in business with y'all, right? So then, once everybody left, right, Drew was like, wait a minute, something ain't right with you two. I'm gonna figure it out, but something ain't right with you two. So when Drew left, Kane told Lorenzo, with that stupid move, you got to make another stupid drop off, right? I was like, oh, damn, man. So you got to drop some more weight. So then, after that, Diana and Salim were in her room, right? They were getting hot and heavy. They were making out. And guess who stops by? Lorenzo. So Lorenzo wants Diana's help with the drugs at her job that she has. Now, I was sitting here thinking to myself, like, she works like in a campus bookstore or something like that, right? How in the hell is she gonna pass off some drugs here? Oh, you want some candy? I got this kind of candy. I got the Skittles, and then I got the hard candy, like the cocaine, the marijuana. Like, how the hell you gonna pass that shit off? But she says she'll do it. I was like, good luck with that one, sis. So then we see Monet. Monet called Davis up and she was like, what the fuck is going on with this Kevin situation, right? Monet is a rude bitch. Damn. So Davis was like, well, he is on, he's on desk duty. She was like, unless his desk is outside on my corner, he's still harassing me, right? So Davis was like, you know what? We're gonna play this the right way. What he wants for her to do is to document every time that Kevin shows up. So that way they can really get him out the picture, right? I was like, okay, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it, right? So let's pause here and we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the episode, you guys. All right, you guys, so Tariq is trying to figure out, basically, remember I told you guys earlier that Obi told them, like, shit, if y'all don't move all this motherfucking weight, it's gonna be bloodshed around here. Diana first, Mama and Daddy Weston, and then Big Mama, right? So Tariq is trying to figure out how we're gonna move the product. Effie tells him that she wants to get back to moving product over at Stansfield, right? Tariq is like, nah, man, we can't do that, right? Like, Stansfield is too fucking hot, right? So she's like, well, she's gonna step on the product. And we were correct in last week's episode. I know a lot of people left in the comments, right? That Effie was stepping on that product. But I think she was doing an even mix so that way, and she said it in this episode that she was mixed, she'll step on it well enough to where these dumbass kids at Stansfield won't know the difference, right? So she says she want to do this for a side hustle. She has an end quota in mind, and once she reaches it, then because she knows what she wants to do for college and for grad school, so she has a plan, and Tariq told her to go for it, right? So then we see them as they're in class, and today they're talking about human capital. So this conversation about human capital, it got extremely, it got extremely personal, right? Diana was talking about how her family, she's expendable to her family. Tariq was coming at, brown skin Keisha, aka Brushandria, about taking his internship. One of the other little boys was talking to, Sister Weston about the fact that the only reason why you in this school is because your family gives money to the school, right? So then we see Salim, right? So, oh, I had already told you guys that Salim Googled Lorenzo. He shouldn't have done that, right? You shouldn't have done that. And I already told you guys about Kane wanting to give her the gun, and she said no. So then we see Tariq and Brayden. So I don't know if they were at a country club or where, right? But they're with Uncle Lucas and they're with Kiki, right? So Kiki is telling Uncle Lucas, like, this person that you came to talk to, he's gonna see through what you want to do. And Uncle Lucas told Kiki, like, girl, take your ass to the spot and just let me deal with this, right? So the guy, his name is RSJ. He's giving a speech, right? So RSJ is a black man, by the way. And so it's RSJ. So so Uncle Lucas has him and Brayden there to meet RSJ. But Tariq, since he's a black man, that's really the connection. One brother for another brother, right? So the guy does come up and talk to Uncle Lucas, and he was like, so the reason that you trying to come to me, because some of my partners that you turned down, and you turned down about 3 or 4 of them, did you turn them down because they're not black? Because the man basically asked him, are you eyeing me because I'm a black man? Absolutely. And that's the reason why he brought Tariq, right? So after that, Tariq was like, can I speak to you for a minute? He said, you just did. He said, well, I want to ask you a question about your speech. So the man basically told Tariq in layman's terms that, when it comes to business, right, you can typically make more money if you take your product and you make it more affordable and cheaper for people to attain, as opposed to having high-end items that you only have a specific clientele for, right? And Tariq thought about that. Tariq is a very smart person. So Tariq told Brayden that he wants to run the product through the office, right? He's like, what is the biggest, most legal way to get, the most legal drug, right? Brayden was like, Adderall, Ritalin. He was like, caffeine. I was like, exactly. That is smart, right? So what they're going to do is they are going to basically just smuggle the drugs through coffee orders, something that people do all day, every day. It's real easy, and it's something that nobody would see coming, right? So then we see them as they're running the idea through Kane and through Drew, right? And they're like, cool. So, but they were like, Stansfield is hot, but they were like, it is hot, right? Everything is hot with those two, but they're gonna do it in a way, because when Brayden was with Uncle Lucas, now you guys know I don't understand anything about cryptocurrency or stuff like that, but there were some crypto people there. So what they're gonna do is have people buy crypto to then buy the coffee, so that way when they use their debit cards, it's really not purchasing. Their debit cards are not purchasing the coffee. Their debit or credit cards are purchasing the crypto. Then they use the crypto to then buy the coffee, right? And then the crypto just leads back to the company that they're basically using. I was like, it's kind of intricate, and it's so many different story, different things to weave around. But I'm like, okay, it could work. It could work, right? It could definitely work. So Kane and Drew also told them what their plan was. So this leads back to what we talked about earlier when the Castillos came to talk to Drew, Kane, and Lorenzo. They said it was a black guy that killed the Russian, right? Well, Kane wanted it to be Braden since, it couldn't be a Hispanic person. It couldn't be a Hispanic person. It couldn't be a black person, right? Because then that would cause a war. A white person, which is him, it just looks like, I don't know what it would have looked like, but I mean, it still would have raised some questions, but nobody knows about Braden, right? So Braden's supposed to go through with it. Braden, however, was, a little apprehensive about it. So then Braden told Effie, and Effie and Braden told Tariq. Tariq was like, we can't do that. Effie was like, nah, let him do it, right? So at one point, Effie asked him, so are you the reason that Tariq lost that internship? And he said, it was a white collar thing. She's like, Tariq is going to be mad at you. I was like, pot, meet the kettle. Because you lied to Tariq about Lauren. But go for it, sister. Go for it, girlfriend. So then we see Harper and Tate, right? So Harper and Tate, they were catching up with each other. And, she asked him who was that lady he was with at Zeke's memorial. He said, oh, that's Thunder. He said her name is Angela. There's nothing there between them, right? And that she was the only real relationship that he had. So they went in for a kiss. Who came in but Blanca and Jenny, right? So they were talking about how he perjured himself on both of their cases. And that, he's, for you to be someone who talks about getting drugs off the street, you definitely do work with drug dealers. And then he was like, they were talking about Tariq. So he said, well, the reason, me and Tariq, the internship didn't work out, but he is working over there with the Westons and with his friend, Braden Weston, who confessed to then dealing drugs. Interesting, isn't it? But y'all keep coming after Tariq for the shit. So then we see Braden, right? So Braden was, talking to the Russian. He was supposed to take him out, right? Braden choked. He couldn't pull the trigger, so Tariq came up and popped him, right? So then they went to a restaurant. Braden, he had to go out to the side, and he texted Kane and told him it was done. Then we get Tariq and Effie, they're talking. So Tariq is asking Effie, like, so, once all this is set, once you reach your quota, what next? Tariq wants to stay in the drug game. Effie wants to get out the drug game. And I was like, oh, so we are definitely getting a repeat of Tasha and Ghost, right? Tariq says that, they could be so much better than what his parents were. He's a lot smarter than his dad. And I was like, well, are you really, Tariq? But we shall see. So the coffee business is up and running. So Braden got a text message from Kane to meet up. So he met up with Kane, and Kane was like, who the fuck did you see? Tariq killed him. Like, he was like, no, it wasn't Tariq. I got somebody else to do it. So then he was like, what about, Lauren? Who, what's up with that? He was like, well, you saw it on the news that she's dead. So he was like, you know what? I'm gonna let you survive this one time, right? But you got I got a body that I need from you, and I'm going to, collect on it, right? So he told Braden, get out of here. So Braden left, and then when Braden left, he called up Effie on the phone and told Effie, we gotta talk. And that was the episode, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought of the episode down in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on, share the video, you guys. Until the next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.